Welcome, horror fans, to HHN 365, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast. As always, my name is Mike, and I'm here with my co-host, Duff.
Hey, guys.
Hey, we have a great episode for you lined up. We actually have two things for you this episode. We are, Duff, you explain the first.
Yeah, sure. So the first one, exciting news here. We decided we'd have a little fun, and we'd do a trivia competition. The inaugural HHN 365 trivia competition. Trivia tournament. I don't really have a name for this, but it's a trivia.
So explain the rules of this.
So basically what we're going to do, we are going to have a total of 8 contestants. What we're going to do, we don't know the exact schedule where we're going to do it every other week. Every week we'll figure this out. But it's going to be over a 1 to 2 month period, I'd say. Mm-hmm. Each episode we're going to start off 1v1. The winner will advance to the finals. So in the finals, you end up with 4 people. They're going to do it Jeopardy style.
Perfect.
Pretty much. You'll see shortly the exact details of how the trivia competition is going to go down and how we find the winner. But yeah, that's about it. Yeah. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it.
And so tonight we have our first...
we do.
Yeah,
we do. We got our first 2 contestants coming up tonight. And also, anyone listening, we still have 1 spot, potentially 2. So we'll say we're looking for 2 people right now that still want to be involved. So please reach out.
Yeah, reach out to us.
Please,
yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Twitter.
It's open to everyone.
Twitter at HHN365. Instagram, HHN365.
You could be a newbie. As long as your name is not Nico. You
Exactly. Yeah. The criteria is you've been to Horror Nights at some point.
Right, that's all.
If you lose, well, you did that to yourself. Yeah. It's okay. Yeah. No one's going to laugh. Well, okay, depending how bad it is.
And there might be a prize at the end.
There is. Yeah. There is a prize at the end.
Yeah,
there is a prize.
There's a prize.
I don't know what the prize is. I mean, I do, but you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, you do.
Yeah.
They don't.
I know what it is.
You know. They don't. No.
Yeah, but we're not going to We're not going to tell them. We're not going to say
They'll just be gifted to someone.
Yeah. Yes. We will say it at the
and
end.
Then they'll be on Instagram like, "Oh my god, look what I won."
Yeah.
If they want to.
If they want to.
But we do like shameless promotion, so go for it, eventual winner.
So before we get to that, what do we have in store for the second part of the episode?
For the second part of the episode, the decade's over now, technically. Yes. I want to go back. Before we go forward, right. I do want to go back.
All right.
And I just thought it would be great if you thought it would be great.
I'll
give you the credit here. Just top 10 houses of the decade. So that was a fun list to make. I really enjoyed that. We're going to break down mine and Mike's separately. Our lists, I believe, are very different.
They are. For a reason. Should we explain that reason?
Yeah, sure. Let's go. You want to do that now?
So, yeah. So the criteria of it is that we talked about it back and forth, and we decided that we would, for it to make your list, you would have to have done it. And I've been pretty open that there have been a few years that I have, recent years, that I missed. I have went a lot earlier on, so the 2010s, 2011s, 2012s, that's when I got to hit those houses up all the time. More of the recent years, if I did go to that year, there were some houses I missed that year. There's some years that I missed completely. So my list is going to be probably focusing on maybe a little bit more about the earlier years. Mm-hmm. And then Duff, I know you have really gotten into Horror Nights. You've always been into Horror Nights, but then you've been getting that frequent fear and going all the time more recently.
It's true. So you might see that reflected. Also, side note, I've brought it up before. I have missed 1 year this decade. It happened to be 2015. So don't expect any of those great houses to appear on my list.
I missed 2015 as well. So yes, 2015 won't be on there.
So sorry.
Yeah. So this is not.
A lot of you would have filled that list up with 2015.
This is our list of the houses we've been. This is not. This is not a list of what general consensus. We might come up with that later. Do that. This list would be very different if we had been to every single house of the decade. Unfortunately, we're human and we did not hit every single one, so it would be very different if we had. Right? Probably.
Oh yeah, I think it makes it a little more interesting. I don't know your list, but I do know on my list there are some surprises in my mind. So, I'm assuming you're gonna have some too.
Yeah, I definitely have some surprises. I definitely actually, when I was making my list, also have noticed that some of them have actually changed over time. So and maybe at the end of the year, I had one house higher than the other, and then things have changed when looking back at this list.
Yeah.
Maybe that I had differently. So that's reflected in my list as well.
And if you've listened to the podcast at all, there's some houses that are recent that we've talked about. Like, man, that's up there. Where does it end? We'll see.
All right.
So, what do you say we get into the trivia?
Yeah, let's get into the trivia.
Let's do a quick little fancy transition and get into it.
Welcome back, horror fans. All right, Duff, let's get right into our first trivia challenge.
Yeah, week 1. Here we go. I'm excited. So I guess we're going to have to kind of go over the rules here. First, let's bring in our contestants. So returning to the show, we have Eric, who is with us for our HHN 29 roundtable recap. Thanks for joining us again, Eric.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And then we also have Mary. Mary, how's it going? You're a first-timer.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely. And then I'm just going to have you guys share your social media right now. Get that out of the way. Eric, if you want to go first.
Sure. My social media is on Instagram, and it's ediaz280.
Mary?
I have my personal Instagram, x3mary, x33, and then I have a theme park Instagram, and that would be Fantasy Finds with a Z at the end.
Go give both of them a follow. Great, especially if you guys are into theme parks, HHN. That's the kind of content you'll find there. So let's get into the details of how our trivia is going to go down here, Mike.
All right, let's do it.
So it's going to be 4 weeks of 1v1s, and they're all going to have the same format. The way we're going to do it is ask one person a question at a time. If they get that question right, they're going to get 2 points. If they get it wrong, the other person has a chance to steal. They're going to receive 1 point for that. We're just going to go by points. The first person to 10 is going to advance to the final round. Each week, we are also going to do a certain subject that we have randomly picked beforehand. So this is not to give anyone else advantages or anything, but this is kind of our way of splitting up the questions up until the final, which is going to be completely general HHN. You guys were lucky enough to receive HHN 25 through HHN 29 trivia. It could be anything involved, whether that's icons, houses, scare zones.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. I say we get into it. So how we do this, decide who goes first is just a simple coin flip. So you're going to have to trust what we say and assume we're not cheating anyone. Mary, since you're a first-time guest, we're going to let you choose, so you can call it now.
All right, I'll pick tails.
It is tails. So you're going to go first here.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So, all right. Question 1. Mary,
Yes.
in 2018, you remember the show Academy of Villains, of course.
Yes.
What was the title or subtitle, you could say, of the show?
Oh my goodness. Was it Cyberpunk?
Is that your final answer?
I'll go with final answer.
It was Academy of Villains Cyberpunk.
Oh my gosh.
Good job.
Yes.
2
Thanks.
points for Mary. Good start. Great start. All right, Eric, you're up.
All right.
HHN 25. There were 3 scare zones that were direct sequels of former houses. What were they?
So there was Psycho Scarpy and Death Tales. And then I remember the Icon House. I mean, the Icons.
I will say it is something that the name is directly a sequel to a former house.
All right, so it'll be Scary Tales, Psycho Scarpy, All Night Dying? Yes.
Those are your final 3?
Yes.
That is correct. So you had Psycho Scarpy Unleashed, All Night Die-In double feature, and Scary Tales Scream Punk. Knotted up there, Eric. We're at 2-2.
Good job.
All right.
All right, so we're going to go to Mary here.
Okay.
Your second question, what house was the last-minute replacement to replace the Tooth Fairy house that was rumored?
Oh, jeez.
So it's
And
a
you said-
house that occurred at 2019.
Oh,
HHN
2019.
29.
Oh, I thought
That
you said
replaced the rumored
2009.
Tooth Fairy.
I want to say us. Final answer.
Us is correct.
Oh, okay. 'Cause that was a complete guess.
All right, Mary, that puts you into the lead up at 4-2.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so we're going to go back to you, Eric.
Okay.
Name 2 houses from 2015 to 2019 that was a scare zone in the previous year of its house.
Oh, Killer Clowns and oh my God, did I just forget his name? Wow. I just had a brain fart. The Tales of Halloween, the different stories of Halloween. Wow. I
Is that
can't
correct?
believe I forgot. Hold on.
Take your time, sort of.
I know.
Gonna-
Sorry.
I'm going to give you 20
I know.
seconds.
How much?
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Great. There's Killer Clowns and there is Trick or Treat.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is correct. Trick or
Yes, that was-
Treat and Killer Clowns from Outer Space both premiered as scare zones, and the following year were created as houses. So we are knotted up at 4-4 now. So we're going to go back to you, Mary.
Okay.
HHN 25. There was a house that was an almost carbon copy of a house from a previous year. Which house was it?
I know that you guys were talking before about there was the werewolf one. The American Werewolf or Teenage Werewolf. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of it. The American Werewolf, and that's my final answer.
American Werewolf?
Yeah.
Mike, can we get a ruling on that?
Should we count it?
I don't think we should. I don't think we can give you the points. You're a little too off on the name. It's missed an important part. It's an American Werewolf in London.
Oh jeez. Oh jeez. I wasn't there for 25. I have no idea.
And really, we should let Eric steal, but she already gave away the entire answer. Sorry, that was a bad choice. We screwed you, Eric. We owe you one, but we won't return it. So, Eric, going back to you.
All right.
During our 2015 to 2019 period, there were several sequel houses that occurred. Can you name just 2 of them? Just the sequel house had to occur within 2015 to 2019.
Okay. So it was Nightingale Blood Pit and Ghost Town Lightning Coach. I can't remember the full title, but yeah, Ghost Town. Those were.
I will say, since there are many options for this answer, we do need the full name of each.
Oh,
so if you don't feel confident with the full
Ghost
name,
Town.
I'd say try to get the full name or think of another one.
Well, Body Collectors Recollection and Nightingale's Blood Pit.
That is correct.
That is correct.
So, Eric, you're going to jump out to the lead now, up 6-4. All right, so we are going to go back to Mary.
Okay.
All right, Mary. This is a little bit of a hard one. It's going to get harder from here. What house was held in the Shrek Theater from 2016?
Krampus. Final answer.
Krampus is correct.
Yes, that was one of my favorites.
All right. Mary ties it up. We really got a back and forth game.
Right.
I'm enjoying this. And we're going to go with another location question again. This time bouncing to HHN 28. If you went to Hollywood, walking down Hollywood Boulevard there, what scare zone would you encounter? Eric?
Hollywood Boulevard. That was in Vamp 85. Oh, that one. I didn't walk that one because it was always crowded. Who was there? Chucky. Chucky Scare Zone.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Yeah, it's close enough.
All right. Eric, you're up to 8.
All right.
2 points away from the win. And we still haven't had a steal.
We haven't had a steal.
Partially my fault, but it's okay.
Our questions might be too easy.
I think they are. All right. Ready, Mike?
Yes. All right. This is sort of having to do with 2015 to 2019. How many years was Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure around for?
Oh, geez. Well, I know they didn't have one in 2018 or 2019. Oh, jeez. I'm trying to think of when they started. I want to say, oh, geez. For Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, I'm just going to go on a whim because I have absolutely no idea and say 22 because I don't know. I don't remember when they started or anything. So I'll just say 22.
That is incorrect.
So, Eric,
you
you have a
can
chance
steal.
for the first steal.
I am going to shoot. 26 years.
26 is correct.
All right. Eric with the steal. Up to 9 points.
9 points.
You are just one away from the win, and it is your turn.
All right.
Eric, if we go back to HHN 25,
Okay.
there was a fantastic mashup house. Jack Presents 25 Years of Monsters and Mayhem.
Uh-huh.
It represented many houses from the past. Can you name 6?
Oh, damn it. Oh. Wow. All right. So, Scream House. And then we had, we didn't have Nightingale. Wow. I remember Scream House. We had, no, I sure wasn't there. Ooh, the bear. What was his house? Ghost Town, wasn't it? And then
No, we'll find out.
So it's basically it was mainly 2000, no, it was from the 20th to 25th was that year. No, it wasn't that. No, you guys got me there. I can't remember 6.
Would you like to pass to Mary?
Sure.
Mary.
I have no idea.
That was
Yeah, I'll take another pass on that one.
All right. Well, I'll give you 6 for fun. Eric, you were on the right path with Scream House. You said Nightingales as well. Nightingale's Blood Prey was involved.
Oh.
Castle Vampire, Gothic, Havoc, Dogs of War, Psycho Scarapy, Home for the Holidays were all included and all could have been options for you guys.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to pass it on to Mary now.
Okay.
Mary, down by 3, need some points.
Yeah.
So 2015 to 2019 is not known for its 3D houses. There's only been 2. Can you name both?
Oh my gosh, the 3D houses. I know the one in 2016 was Chance's Playground, I believe. Um, so I know. I think that's what it was called. No. It was Chance's year, and I know it was her house, but I don't think it was actually like named after her. Lunatic's Playground. That's what that one was called. And another 3D one. I don't think I know that one. All I can think of is the Chance one.
All right.
Do you want to take a shot or pass it on to Eric?
I'll pass it to Eric for that second one.
And Eric, this steal would give you the win.
Sorry, Mary. Asylum in Wonderland 3D.
And one more.
Oh, Lunatic's Playground 3D.
Yep, we'll count it.
That's correct.
Technically, it was Lunatic's Playground's 3D. You won't stand a chance.
That's a little too much.
Yeah.
Lunatic's Playground, perfect.
Chance.
All right. Eric, you are the winner. You are going to be moving on to the final round, which is going to happen in a few weeks here.
In 2 weeks, it'll be Jeopardy style.
Yeah, we're going to do a Jeopardy style Final Four and find a winner from there. And you have booked your place. Mary, you have not, but thank you so much for competing.
Mary.
You did a really good job for coming in and saying, I'm going to get slaughtered. You got 6 points. That's not a bad effort at all.
Yeah.
And we have some tough ones, I think. So,
yeah, well, thanks for having me. Good job, Eric. Woohoo!
Oh, thank you, Mary.
So anyone listening, if you were listening to those questions and thinking, man, those are easy, let us know. We'll find out how easy they really are and test you, because we still need one more person. So let us know. Thanks again, guys, for your time. We'll be hearing from Eric soon in the final, and we look forward to bringing back week 2 of trivia, which we haven't decided if it's going to be every week or every other week yet. So you'll find out next week whether that's the case. Again, guys, thanks for your time. I had a lot of fun with that. We're going to leave you here.
Right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to get to our next segment. Welcome back, horror fans, and now we're going to get right into, well, we don't really have a history segment similar to what we've had in the past, but we kind of do. Because we're going over our decade best, I wanted to kind of let you guys all know and kind of go over the House of the Year awards from 2010 to 2019, officially from Halloween Hornets that they put out. And we're not going to discuss them too much.
Well, we should point out, it's not technically official. This isn't something they released to the general public. It's more team member oriented. Right. So it's to reward the team members of the winning house. Basically.
Right. Well, I would say more recently, because of Twitter and everything, it is released to the general public. It gets out there.
Well, and Universal does not release this for knowledge. It just comes out.
Right. And it had always come out, but more recently, it's more definitely out and more talked about. So let's start with 2010. 2010 was Havoc Dogs of War. 2011 was actually a tie, and that was a tie between The Forsaken and The In-Between. 2012 was Gothic. 2013 was American Werewolf in London. 2014 we got a tie again with Halloween and Dollhouse of the Damned. 2015 was Jack Presents. 2016 was American Horror Story. 2017 was Scarecrow the Reaping.
Oh, yeah.
And 2018 was Stranger Things. And then 2019 was House of a Thousand Corpses. Right?
We've
talked about on
people kind of got shocked about a little bit.
I can see why. It was always a solid house.
Yeah.
I had it on lower of my list, but it definitely creeped up there.
They did. And I mean, I always felt the line was fairly efficient. and there wasn't a whole bunch of bottlenecking going on. Had a good pace, but I can see why that one.
Right. So before we get into our list, looking back, was there any surprises? I was surprised just how stacked 2019 was.
Yeah. So there's 3 years that I've left out completely. I won't say it now because I don't want to give anything away too much. But I think that's the biggest surprise, that the representation, one, was stacked more towards recent years in general, and two, I missed 3 years completely. There was like 1 year that I knew that would happen,
Right.
but the other two I was like, oh man, well, didn't make the cut.
Yeah. See, mine's a little opposite. Mine's actually more to the earlier years, because those are the ones where I got to go, 5, 6, 7 times. The more recent years, if I did get to go, I didn't go that often. Except 2019, I went a lot recently. Now that my daughter is older and I can kind of get away and do that. But yeah, those more recent years, I did not get to go that often, if I got to go at all. So,
And I feel that's a reason for me, in the sense that the earlier years, I'd go once, maybe twice. The past 4 years, frequent fear, go at least once a weekend. So,
right. All right. So, how about you start it up? Do you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, I've named a few, and without going over any description, I'm just gonna name them. This one I think will shock people because it's gonna be on most people's list and high on it, maybe all-time list. But Poltergeist.
Okay.
I've put Havoc on there as well,
Okay.
and La Llorona.
All right. I have two honorable mentions. I have The Forsaken from 2011, and I have Catacombs, Black Death Rising from 2010. Those are my two honorable mentions. All right. How about you start us off with
yeah, let's do
number
it.
10?
Let's do it. So number 10 for me comes from HHN 26.
Okay.
That would be Tomb of the Ancients. Oh man,
yes.
I really liked this house, and it was. I feel like in general it was pretty well liked, but there was definitely, it was a little polarizing, you could say, and because there was people who definitely did not really like it, like within the HHN community. But I loved this house. The facade was amazing. It transported you right to where you need to be. It's very indie-esque, Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Funny because I actually had props. His hat and the idol are both within the house, so that's a cool touch. They had the really cool puppet, the crocodile, that I liked a lot, and they had a lot of guest-activated triggers, which are always fun. There's the one where the arrows blew on you. I know people hate that. I love the air blowing. It's always a nice touch. But yeah, no, that was my house of the year for HHN 26, and it made it into my top 10 of the decade.
Yeah, so 26 was a year that I missed completely. This is the year. House was definitely one that I wanted to check out that year. I'm gonna go ahead and tell this story. Duff knows it, but 26 was actually the year that my daughter was born, and Duff and I had made an agreement that I think we were like, I had given you Disney tickets because you were working at Universal at the time, and I was working at Disney at the time, and we had made some sort of trade where I had given you comp tickets so you could go to Hollywood. And for a trade that you took me to your cast member preview of HHN 26, and it was like probably like a day before I had to text you and be like, "Oh, my wife's in labor. Sorry, I can't go." And so yeah, and then I never ended up getting to go that whole year, obviously because I had a brand new baby. But yes, so 26 was kind of the first year. Where it was like, oh man, there's so many good houses, and then it just kind of kept going a little bit.
Yeah, you're like, all right, it's time. You gotta get there.
Yeah. There was a year or two where I got to go through to a couple houses, but not like I used to go to. All right, so my my 10 is, now this is going to be surprising to people, and I'm going to explain it. So this is the in-between.
Gasp.
I put this on here because I think I wanted to, is the best 3D maze that they've ever done.
Fair. I could get on board with
and
that.
it was a really, really, if you remember back in 2011, it was a really popular house. Like the lines were super long for this one. It was a really cool house. I feel like they did a lot of cool gags. There was a lot of cool technology. The 3D is used really well. I don't think it was like the perfect HHN house that's ever been made, but for every it was a lot of the things that I like about a house in it. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was really popular, so it made my list.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? It was good enough for Universal. It's good enough for you.
Yep. And what about what do you think about In Between?
Middle of the pack for me. I agree with your statement that it probably is the best 3D house. It's not my thing. 3D houses are not my thing. It was okay.
All right. And what's your number 9?
For number 9, I have gone to HHN 27 and Dead Waters, which I don't know if that makes a lot of people's list. To be honest, I know there's a few who really enjoy it, but I don't think the consensus was that it was a really good house. For me, the sets were absolutely beautiful. I love the theme, that whole Bayou Voodoo Queen thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always a sucker for that. Every time. Scare Zone house, doesn't matter. TV show,
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
It's always scary.
Yeah, I'm always for it. I enjoy the effect where you're on the ship and the floor is slanted.
Yes, I love slanted floors.
Like in Seeds of Extinction, they had that, you'll remember, and
Some other houses that may be
there's-
coming up.
yeah, but yeah, no, I think it was a really well designed house. There were some really good scares in there. I think I can point to one run through where I really fell in love with it. I actually had family in town, and we did it last thing. We were, when you're the only person in the area, the only group in the area, we were the only people anywhere in the entire house. There was not a single person anywhere around the queue walking through, not behind us, anywhere. By the time we were at the front of the house, there was still no one getting in queue that we could see.
And what time did you go through? Was it
This
super
was
late?
end of the night.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there was a few
That's the
minutes
best
left.
time to
Yeah.
go out there.
And we got everything. I don't think I've ever had anything timed better. And that's not the only time I've gone through as the only group. But that one, just everything was so on point. And what an experience. And just overall, I really enjoyed that house.
All right. Well, my number 9 is also, I think, going to be a shocker to people. I put it on here for a reason. I think a lot of my houses are on here for a reason. My number 9 is from 2019, and that is Ghostbusters.
Ooh.
Yes, so
Woof.
I know it's not. I think so. I think the HHN nerds, for the most part, really, really, really love this house. So I think I have those people on my side. I know that there are some people who didn't like it solely just because it wasn't scary. I think most people at least appreciated what this house was, what it was trying to do. And why I have it on the list is because I think it is going to be kind of the house of the future. I think we are going to start seeing more houses that are going to focus less on what we've seen in the past. They're going to be a little bit more like walking through a cinematic story, where you and it could be not even a horror movie. You could start seeing things that are just horror-ish.
Horror adjacent.
Yeah, horror adjacent, like Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is not a horror movie, but it really, really, really worked.
It did.
And I think we're going to start. Maybe we're going to see more of these. They did it really well. Also, the reason why I really like Stranger Things house from the 2019. Yes, that one is more of a horror franchise, but yes, the house wasn't that scary. There wasn't a lot of scare zone. Well, I'm not talking about Stranger Things necessarily. I'm talking about Ghostbusters. So I'm not going to go in there, man. But I think we're going to start seeing more houses like that, for better, for worse, and probably, in my opinion, for the better.
I mean, I agree. I think we are going to see more houses like that. Is it a good thing? If they pull it off like they do in Ghostbusters, yes.
if they
I won't mention the other house. Moving on. My number 8. I'm going back to the beginning of the decade. Horror Nights 20. And I went with Horror Nights, The Hollowed Past.
Okay.
Now, one of the big reasons I went for this house, sorry, is because it was my first anniversary, first Icon mashup house. And I'm a big fan of Icons now. But when I first started going to the event, which would have been in 2006, up until about the time they killed off Icons in 2012, that was my favorite part about Horror Nights. I loved the icons. I loved the stories. I loved the theming that just went across the board of the event. And, so this is my first time experiencing an icon mashup house, an anniversary house. So that already put it at a high level for me. Not only did they bust out just regular icons, too. You could also find Eddie and Chance in that house, which, if you know, Chance gets an icon year later. Eddie was supposed to and did not. We've talked about this. I believe we did a little bit of history. And it was involved, not history about him, but it was involved in one history segments.
I think Nico brought up Eddie, and we said that Eddie was coming. I don't think we've really gone too much into Eddie too much.
Well, we aren't going to now. But he was supposed to be an icon. He wasn't. Still made an appearance in the house. Loved it. And honestly, that's it. That's all I got to say about it. That's why I loved that house.
So this was my first year of Halloween Horror Nights ever. Obviously, this house was great. It didn't make my list. I think I was going to have it as an honorable mention, but I didn't, because it was my first year. I didn't have that connection to some of the icons necessarily, so it was just kind of a mashup house. It didn't ring true to me, but it was a really good, scary house. I'm not gonna, looking back at it, if I had gone through it now, I know it would be up there. But at the time, it was just kind of
I understand that.
The house is from 2010 coming though.
All right, I look forward to them.
My number 8 comes from 2011, which might be my favorite year, so you're going to be seeing a lot from 2011, and that's Nightingale's Blood Prey.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. So, Nightingale's, I think I liked the Nightingales of the past a little bit better than the Nightingales.
The design,
the design, for sure. And this house was so immersive. It was like you were thrown into a battlefield. It was loud, it was scary, it was gross. You wanted to get out of there as quickly as possible, but then you just, after you were like full of adrenaline, you wanted to go back in it. It was really, really well done. I don't know, it was definitely one of my favorites for sure.
I agree with you. And for reasons that you might hear, I'll stop there.
Okay, fair enough.
So I guess we're on to number 7.
On to number 7.
And I'm going to stay where I was in 2010, HHN 20. This time I'm going to slide over to Catacombs.
Okay, Catacombs.
Yeah. That was my house of the year that year. Man, I really enjoyed that house.
What a great house, right?
And I love the story behind it. The Catacombs of Paris, and everyone that died down there during the plague. They added the additional story about the medics who went down there to help, and but basically, fast forward to modern day, and the dead are coming out of the catacombs.
Right.
And my history nerd self just really enjoyed that. It was dark. It was fun. It was scary. It was scary too.
Wasn't it officially set in a sister city of Cary, Ohio? Called Cary.
Yeah.
Right, something silly like that. It was still great.
But yes, it was the Catacombs of Paris is the story behind it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, loved that house. Absolutely loved it. That's all I got for it.
Yeah. What a great house. I had it as my honorable mention. Really great house.
Oh yeah.
All right. Moving on, my number 7 is, I think, maybe it'd be surprising to people as well, because at my end of the year, I don't think I had it too high. But I had to put it on here because I feel like, again, this is something that I think shows just how far Halloween Horror Nights has come, and that is Universal Monsters.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So from 2019, Universal Monsters. I don't think it's a perfect house. I'm not a fanboy like some of the others, but looking back at some of the other Universal Monsters houses that we have seen in the past, this one does it so much better than those others, and I needed to have a Universal Monsters type of house in it because it means so much to Halloween Horror Nights, and this one does it the best.
Agreed. Definitely agreed. Again, I will say no more about that right now. So I'll go on to my number 6. Only back to HHN 28, not too far back now. We're getting closer again. And this is probably the most fun I've ever had in a house. Slaughter Cinema. Oh man, Mike, that house was my life for 2 months. Loved it. So I love like cheesy 80s B movies in general.
Right.
Obviously, B horror, great, even better, because nothing is better than horror that's so bad it's hilarious. And they did it so well. I like the pacing. I know that was a complaint for some people, how you get like this room for each movie and done.
Right.
Room done. I liked that pacing. The music they had playing in the background kind of pushed you through that way too. The announcer announcing the movies as they come in, like Pumpkin Guts, Cult of Beast Baby. It's just great. I mean, there was nothing scary. There were some jump scares in there, obviously, but that's how I liked it. Actually, the Cult of the Beast Baby did have the scene, the who's the real guy jump scare. That I liked that one. I think they pulled that one off really well. But yeah, I don't think there is a more fun house that I've ever been in.
Yeah, I can't talk about it because I didn't get to go on it or in it, I guess. But I know I would have loved it. I've heard amazing things about it.
It would have been right up your alley.
Yeah, I wish that I have this year, especially, is a year that I really wish that I could have made, but I didn't. So my number 6 is going way back to Havoc, Dogs of War. It was the house of the year of that year. It is the type of house that I love. And I think it embodies it pretty well, except maybe one other house that might be on my list higher. It is loud. It was gory. It is in your face, and it is really visual. It was all those things combined. I love the heavy metal music in the back. It was an amazing house.
Yeah, I mean, it made my honorable mention list. Love that house. Like you said, it really did a good job of having that kind of like traditional horror nights, like horror gore, while having this really just kind of cinematic feel to it, which is impressive because that doesn't happen too often.
It is the house that made me fall in love with Halloween Horror Nights.
Oh, damn! Okay,
yeah, it is the house. I'm like, yes, yeah, this is, yeah. I mean, I have been going to haunted houses since I can remember. But this is the one you're like, okay, Universal. Yeah, this isn't Salt Lake City, Utah anymore. This is the real deal. This is the real deal. No, don't get me wrong. There's some great houses out of Salt Lake City, Utah, but yeah, this is something you would not see in an event like that.
Good pick.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we're on number 5. HHN 23. This house was so good they brought it back as a near carbon copy 2 years later. That's an American Werewolf in London.
Yes.
Oh man. I mean, what else do I have to say? Then it was so good they brought it back almost as a complete carbon copy 2 years later.
They actually tweaked it and made it better.
They tweaked it. So basically, the only things they changed were the werewolves and characters, but the actual house was the same. The scares were the same.
They made the werewolves a lot scarier.
They made them look better, basically. Which Like I said, didn't go to 2015. If I did, maybe that's the one that's on this list. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have been, from what I understand. Again, a year we
But-
both missed, but
Yeah, no. Well worthy of the fifth spot. The sets were beautiful. It was gory. Like, I feel like there were just so many times that the werewolf was attacking someone, and I feel like you don't see that a lot anymore, where you actually see the attacks. But in that house, it was plenty.
it was like the first modern IP house that we are kind of into now, right? Wasn't the first one that's kind of does IPs the way they do them now?
Yeah, you may be right there.
I think so. I can't think of. I'm sure we've had IPs before, but in a way that they have just really make them so cinematic.
Like walking through the sets of the movie.
the sets of the
No,
movie.
you may be right. I can't really think of one before that's that style.
Yeah, and it was so popular that it's basically made what Halloween Horror Nights turned into. 60% of the houses, or 50% of the houses turned into that.
Mm-hmm.
So it shows just how, influential this house was.
Yeah, and it says a lot about the house, as you'll notice, and you may have already noticed. IPs are not really showing up on my list, so good job with this
Yeah.
one.
Other than Ghostbusters, I don't know if I have a lot of IPs on mine either. We'll see.
What do you have at 5?
Number 5, I have Gothic.
Okay.
Yeah, Gothic
Yeah.
from that was also a House of the Year. I was in line with that too. This one basically just showed how it was a weak year. It was enough, but it just showed just how immersive and moody houses could be, and it was the diamond of the rough of 2012. 2012
Yeah,
was a
that
little
was-
bit of a rough year.
My least favorite year ever, maybe?
Probably mine too.
Or it's a toss-up between that and 2013. But I think 2013 had a higher quality of houses across the board, which
Right.
saved it. But yeah, either way, not a great year whatsoever. But that would have been my favorite house of...
Right.
Well...
There's other decent ones in there,
No,
but
you know what? I'd have to think about it. But it's up there.
right,
It was a good house.
yeah. Of a fairly weak year,
Oh, it's definitely...
in my opinion,
up at the
Gothic,
top. Near the
Gothic
top,
is the
for
edge
sure.
in there. All right, and what is your number 4?
My number 4 is going to one that you've already talked about.
Okay.
I loved from the beginning. Universal Monsters. First of all, best use of that IP that I've seen.
Right.
I've been able to do the one in 2018 in Hollywood and watched their walkthroughs from previous years as well. And this house pulls it off so much better than any other. The effects they use for the scares, the transitions for the rooms, the sets of the rooms themselves. The detail when you're in the lagoon and look up and see the boat and the seaweed and the lily pads, and that house, I did not expect much from it all this year. I thought it would be middle of the packish, maybe even closer to the bottom, and it blew me away. The scare actors being so into it was a huge part of that
Yes.
for me. I don't know if I've ever seen a house where the scare actors, just the quality and the passion of the scare actors, helped the house so much throughout the year. Like, you see that for like a night or two for specific houses, but the entire year, those scare actors were hitting 100% every walkthrough.
No, they really did, and they made the house.
They did.
I already talked about it, so let me keep moving on. My number 4 is comes from my favorite year, Roanoke Cannibal County or Cannibal Colony.
County, colony.
From that was what, 2011, right? Love this house. It's everything that I think that makes Halloween Horror Nights good. It was dark. It was moody. It transported you. It had the slanted floors that always make it great. Super scary. Awesome house.
Yeah, I completely agree. In a really strong year, that's definitely near the top for me.
Yeah.
Really good. Really good.
All right. Moving on to your 3.
Number 3. Once again, you've already talked about this one. It's been on your list. That's going to be back in the same year you were just on, HHN 21, Nightingale's Blood Prey.
Oh, you have it really high.
Oh, yeah. I love that house. That's one of my...
I don't know if I knew that.
Yeah, that's been... I think I've talked about it on the show once. So we talked about some of our favorite ever, just kind of in passing, not really structured. And I brought it up. Yeah, that's up there. Man. I don't have to speak too much about it.
Wow.
As you did. But one of the things that really gets it for me is it's kind of like a history-based,
yes,
so a period piece kind of, and I'm a sucker for that.
Me too. You can see from my list that definitely a sucker for the history ones.
In my adult life, that was the first time that I ever experienced a house that I felt was like actually terrifying. Like it actually scared the shit out of me, and I appreciate that. And
it was so scary.
That just doesn't happen a lot anymore, but the next few on my list might do that. We'll see.
Could 2011, before we get on, could 2011 be like one of the scariest years? There were some really scary ones.
Yes, it may be the scariest of the decade, I would say.
Okay, now moving on to my number 3, going back to 2010 again, which would be Psychoscarapy Echoes of Shady Brook. Yes, so
I like seeing a Psychoscarapy house.
Yeah, Psychoscarapy
nice.
Must be probably one of the best series of houses ever.
Yeah, and it may be the most used series.
My first year of it, also super scary. I said that Havoc Dogs of War was one of them that made me fall in love with Halloween. This one as well made me really fall in love with Halloween Horror Nights. It's so good. Insane asylums are inherently scary. They do it so good. Also, you'll see insane asylums and other little haunts. This one just showed just the Halloween Horror Nights touch to it that could make something that you see a lot in haunts just 1,000 times better of what they can do.
Oh yeah, loved that house. Probably should have made my honorable mentions. It's an honorable mention for me. Thank you. Just said it now, claiming it. So let me get into my number 2. On my number 3, I was clamoring over how scary it was and terrifying and how good that makes it. Number 2 might be the scariest house I've ever experienced. This was back in HHN 27, and that is called Scarecrow the Reaping.
How did I know?
Man, I mean, I think you know I love this house.
I know.
There's only 2 choices left.
Right. Yeah.
It was coming at some point.
So,
yeah, man, absolutely terrifying. First of all, like you said, how asylums are inherently scary. Yeah, so are cornfields.
They are very
in the same
scary.
sense. So they already had a good idea to work with to make it terrifying, but they pulled it off so well. The crow scene, where they're pitch black, there's crows flying around, shitting on you too, which was a great touch. Loved that. You have to walk through the hanging pig corpses. It was so dark. The noises involved. Honestly, a nearly perfect house.
Wish I had experienced.
Nearly perfect.
Seems amazing.
And I think this is one where basically everyone agrees.
Yeah.
Just an absolutely amazing house.
I think it's probably general consensus one of the best houses ever made.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a sequel.
In a generally, I think, somewhat weak year for houses.
Wow.
Yeah.
That might be kind of controversial.
I don't know if it's
I
controversial.
don't know. People find 27 to be a really good year.
It did have 2 houses on my list. But I feel like once you get off that top half, it really bottoms out quick. But yeah, anyways, well worthy of number 2 of the decade. It could be that high for my all-time 2, I don't know. It's high. Great house. Terrifying house. And I hope we see it return. That's all I'll say.
All right. Well, my number 2 is Graveyard Games from 2019.
Number 2.
Yes. Well, number 2. If you've listened to this podcast before, you know how much both of us love Graveyard Games. Yeah, I don't know what else I can say about it. I haven't said on this podcast before. It was amazing. It was super scary, super immersive, super long. The characters are really great in it. I don't know what else to say about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then
I hope we see more houses like it.
I'll just pick up by saying my number one is Graveyard Games. I'll go through really quickly. Story was there, characters were there, sets were there, scares were there, effects were there. Perfection.
Yeah.
Absolute perfection. And I think I can answer my question that is my favorite house of all time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've heard it here. Hot take.
I don't know if that's a hot take. I think there's a lot of other people with me on that.
Is there anything that you would have done differently?
With the house?
Yeah, or is it a perfect house?
So, I'm a believer that nothing's perfect.
Okay.
But I'm not the one who would have found the flaws in it.
Okay. Do you agree with any of the other flaws that some people have about it?
As in...
Well, I guess the main thing that I would hear people say was really inconsistent. I have never experienced the inconsistency.
So I think in a Horror Nights house, it's bound to happen. Sometimes you're lucky and you never hit it. Me,
right?
I never felt off. You'd miss a couple scares, maybe. That's always going to happen. But the timing was never so bad that I just walked clear through the house. I never felt like the scare actors weren't into it. So no, not from my experience. I'm sure some people did have bad run-throughs. It happens to every single house.
I would say the other fault I hear from people is saying that their first run-through was great, but then the second run-through, third run-through, they relied a lot on the first time experiencing it.
No.
And then it really, once you've experienced it, it was just like, this is not scary anymore.
I also disagree because I think there were... So this was a complete 360 scare house.
Right.
You know, I don't think it was we're going to make sure you look this way because that's where all the action is happening.
Right. No, they came from
There were
everywhere.
scares at all sides. So you could catch new things every single
I would
walkthrough.
catch new things
Exactly.
every time.
And the amount of details, just outside of like the actual scares or anything, the details of just the story they put together within the house that you could pick up on. You can't, there was no way, unless you were not trying to enjoy the house, you couldn't walk through and be like, well, that was just like my last walkthrough.
I think
you weren't trying.
It was like my third walkthrough that I actually hit the candle hallway scene perfectly and experienced it the way that was supposed to be experienced.
And how was that?
It was amazing. I was blown away by it.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a couple of times to actually hit it perfectly.
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens. But the thing is, I think that's also an effect where you can enjoy it at any point. So whether you're catching it from the end of the hallway, you're in the middle, you're at the end. You know what's going on. You can fully experience it, and you can enjoy that for what it is.
Right. So my number one, I've talked about it on here before. It comes from 2011, and that is Saws and Steam. So if Havoc and Psycho Scarpy made me fall in love with Halloween Horror Nights, this is the one that made me a Halloween Horror Nights fanatic.
Made you start a podcast.
Yeah. Well, made me realize. Yeah,
much later.
Much later, made me realize that no, I'm a Halloween Horror Nights. It basically, if 2010 planted the seed, or 2011 the tree had blossomed. You know, like it, and Saws and Steam was basically the reason. This one was so gory and so immersive and so visceral. You just wanted to get out of here, and the effects were amazing. If you were walking, do you remember much about this house?
Not nearly as much as you. So no.
I have certain scenes in this house just ingrained into my brain that I will not ever get out of my own brain. Basically, the one that's ingrained in my brain is the hallway where you were walking down, and there's just like the meat pulverizers. Do you remember the meat pulverizers?
I do.
That is ingrained in my brain. I will never forget. I've never seen anything like that in a haunted house ever, and it's stuck there, and it's not getting out of my brain.
Now, I'm interested to hear what the general consensus is on this house, because you don't really hear it talked about a lot. I don't think it's held in the top echelon of houses. For
Like
most
how I
people.
do?
Yeah. So I wonder, do people hold it in high regard at all? Or is it just kind of, it was there?
I think, if looking back, I think people thought it was almost too much. I think most people, it was so gross, in a good way, in my opinion, that I think it was too much for people. I think most people did not like this house just because it was just way too much for people. I think people would be like, no, we're not going back into that. Yeah, I think it's not necessarily held in high regard just by how disgusting it was, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, first of all, I love disgusting, gory houses typically. So, I mean, I enjoyed the house. I remember enjoying that.
And the story was amazing. I'm not going to go too much into the story because it's probably coming as a history segment, but the story was really awesome. All right.
So I do want to hear from people what they thought about the house. If you experienced Saws and Steam, please let us know.
I think it was very polarizing. It was a polarizing house. You either loved it or you hated it.
I really don't remember what people thought at the time. That's probably a lack of me being on anything but a forum.
Right.
Like that's the only
And
time I ever saw it.
how many times did you go to 2011?
2?
This was my first frequent fear year.
Was
so
it?
I hit it up a lot. Yeah. I went, this was the year I went, maybe not as much as you go to them recent, but I definitely went at least 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And I every time hit this house. So I was in this house about 4 or 5 times, at least 5 times. So I definitely got to experience it quite a bit.
I mean, you definitely love it. I can
do
tell.
love it.
I can see it in your eyes.
I do love it.
And you've brought this up before. I knew this was coming. As soon as you put Graveyard Games 2, I knew it was number 1. But yeah, let us know on Twitter what you think about it. Because I'm really curious to hear what others think about it that experienced it. Because I don't think many people are going to put that, if anyone's going to put that as their number 1.
I don't know. I did.
Is it all time?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it is because you only have the decade. Yeah.
I only have the decade.
That's
I
right.
never go. Yeah. I never experienced.
Yeah.
I know there are probably other houses, if I did experience them, might be higher. I know there's a lot of them from before then that would definitely be right down in my wheelhouse. Like some of the body collector ones and the psychoscarapy ones, and the one where you had to walk through like the cave when you just had the helmet. Like those are ones that would definitely be ingrained in my right down my wheelhouse.
So what edged it over Graveyard Games for you?
I think it just hit maybe one, a little bit of nostalgia.
Okay, fair.
And 2, I think I like the story. I think the story is a little bit more like scary and immersive. I like the idea of having like this, you're being beckoned into this utopia, and then you started to realize that it's not a utopia, that you are actually being used to power the utopia, and that you are just the lemmings to power. Like that is clever. That's really awesome story. And the year previous had a scare zone that was really awesome. We're not talking about scare zones, but I fell in love with that scare zone too.
Did you?
So yeah, I did. Yeah, it was an amazing storyline, and then you realize like, oh my gosh, like this is and then you get to see it as coming back as a sequel is awesome, and I fell in love with it.
Everyone has their house, and that is definitely yours.
That's mine.
I am unfortunately just a hype beast, and
I don't think we'll ever see anything like it
Graveyard
again.
Games.
Not.
You can't help what you fall in love with.
Yeah, I think it's an end of an era too. I don't think you're gonna see houses
Anything that intense,
and that gory, and that I don't think you're gonna see it again.
No, I highly doubt it. If it happens, this year might be the year.
Maybe
big anniversary. We'll see.
All right, well that wraps up our decade best list. That was fun going back.
Yeah, I enjoyed writing the list. I enjoyed discussing it. I liked hearing yours because there were definitely some surprises.
Yeah.
I think I had some surprises for me at least. And that was a fun segment. Remember, trivia. If you are interested in joining this competition, hit us up, HHN365, Twitter, Instagram. Find a way.
All right.
Join us, shall you?
Well, we'll see you next week, and we'll see you in the streets.